Well, the gentleman in New Jersey hasn't been recognized. I'm sorry, I was misinformed. I'm misinformed. I apologize. The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
I'm often overlooked. I understand.
What's that?
I'm often overlooked. I understand.
Well, not often enough.
Oh.
The gentleman is recognized. The gentleman is recognized.
You were just hoping that there wasn't another Groucho line coming. I appreciate that. I'll start where I will conclude, and that is that to end the bailout of failed firms, you do so by simply allowing failed firms to fail and not bail them out. The legislation that is before us will perpetuate the problems that we've had over the last year and a half, in which we have bailed out firms that have made excessively poor risk and borne it on the shoulders of the American taxpayer. When I walked into the room before, Mr. Gutierrez was speaking about the need for a process in which we can address the situation quickly, and suggested that bankruptcy could not do so. And I think he made a passing reference to the Lehman situation. Well, let me remind the gentleman just how quickly that process transpired. It was on September 15th, 2008, that Lehman first filed in Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Within 1 week of its filing, using Section 363 of the Bankruptcy Code, Lehman sold its core business over $1 billion in assets to Barclays and generated cash proceeds to pay the creditors with fair pro rata share. The official creditors committee did not object. Then on September 22nd, again within a week, Nomura Holdings purchased Lehman's franchise in the Asian Pacific region. And then next month through October, November 2008, Lehman's took advantage of the bankruptcy code to reject or assume certain unexpired contracts and leases, thereby shedding debt. While not all Lehman creditors were paid in full, they will be paid fairly according to the well-developed priority scheme enacted by Congress and not by an ad hoc system that we have hereby created. Remember, it was back in September 15th when they first filed a bankruptcy. Previously, if you think back, 6 months earlier, they were trying to attempt to sell some of its business to try to forego bankruptcy. They were trying to sell to Barclays and Bank of America in a deal that would be a lot like the Bear Stearns situation, but they were unable to do so. Why? Because the government was acting in an ad hoc manner. In essence, business was not certain which way the Fed would go on this. Would they bail them out and would they not bail them out? And for that reason, they were not able to secure financing and selling of the assets, and the eventual bankruptcy occurred. The bottom line is the problems that we've had over the last year were the uncertainties created by this administration, and more specifically by this Fed. And the legislation before us, by setting up this bailout fund, will perpetuate that uncertainty. The chairman says, for example, in the last debate, that there is no list as far as which institutions are going to be covered by this. Let's take the chairman at his word. Hypothetically, there is no list. In that case, if I am a potential creditor who would like to loan to a company going forward, and there is no such list, then I can only guess whether this particular company that I may be a creditor to would fall into this category, in which case I would be under the benefit of benefit of the bailout, or it may fall into another category of going into the bankruptcy code. That uncertainty is what led to the Lehman situation, and that uncertainty will be perpetuated under this situation. So if the chairman is correct that there is no list, you're creating more uncertainty as to how I will recover. And at the end of the day, because of that uncertainty, some creditors will be treated better. They will be treated in a situation whether the money comes from the taxpayer or the money comes from the bailout fund. It'll be in a disadvantaged way to someone. Now, Mr. Meeks was saying, I think I'm paraphrasing him, to compare it to kids. We don't want the good kids to have to pay for the actions of the bad kids. Well, that is exactly what you have occur here, even with a fund that occurs initially, because the good kids will be the ones who are actually bailing out the bad kids. I will close on this. This is not an ideological or political argument, or well, it's a political argument, but not an ideological argument. Look what some other people have said about this. Fed Chairman Jeffrey Lanker said, with regard to this proposal, he has criticized the legislation for, quote, not doing enough to prevent future bailouts of financial firms. In other words, that will occur under this, bailouts will continue to occur under this proposal. Furthermore, Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia President Charles Plosser said, He said he prefers a change to the bankruptcy code rather than approach favored by this legislation by creating an authority to wind down the firms, in essence, with the bailout. Quote, a bankruptcy court with special procedures for financial institutions would be better equipped than a bank regulator to credibly dismantle large financial institutions without bailouts. Foster said in a proposal and said legislation to have resolution vetted by a panel of judges is not.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.